Chaos in the skies. Passengers hold up collapsed ceiling. Mid-flight, imagine boarding a plane, expecting a smooth, quick trip, and ending up physically holding parts of the ceiling together mid-air. That's exactly what happened to passengers on Delta Flight 2417. On April 14th, Tom Witchey, a 35-year-old from Chicago, found himself in a situation straight out of a disaster movie. As the flight took off from Atlanta, heading toward Chicago, Tom, who was seated in 19B, heard a strange banging sound overhead. At first, he brushed it off, assuming it was just some luggage bumping around in the overhead bin. But seconds later, the situation turned serious. With a loud crash, a large panel from the plane's ceiling came loose, almost striking an older woman sitting just one row ahead. It dangled dangerously, held on by a single corner. Without thinking, Tom and a few nearby passengers jumped into action, grabbing the panel to prevent it from swinging wildly and injuring someone. For what felt like an eternity, roughly 10 to 15 minutes, they clung to the ceiling piece, all while the plane continued its steep climb. Since the flight attendants were still strapped into their seats during ascent, help was delayed. When they were finally able to move around, the crew inspected the situation and radioed the pilots, searching frantically for a way to secure the loose panel. Meanwhile, passengers continued holding it up, arms growing tired, with no solution in sight. Then a small moment of teamwork turned the tide. A fellow traveler, who happened to be an engineer, stood on an armrest to examine the problem more closely. He quickly figured out that a crucial screw or bolt was missing. Without it, the panel wasn't going to stay put. What they needed was something to temporarily fasten it. That's when an unlikely hero stepped forward. A man seated ahead of Tom pulled out a roll of bright yellow Scotch tape, something he just happened to have on him. It was a strange but welcome sight. The flight attendants, along with several passengers, used the tape to patch the panel up as best they could. In total, Tom estimated they spent 30 to 45 minutes physically holding the ceiling in place before the DIY repair job was complete. Despite the surreal experience, the mood on board stayed remarkably calm. The flight attendants, trying to make up for the situation, kept offering free drinks to those who helped, but most passengers politely declined. After all, it was only 10 a.m. Ultimately, even though the plane had nearly reached Chicago, the pilots decided to turn back and land safely in Atlanta. What was supposed to be a quick, one-hour flight turned into an exhausting all-day ordeal. As a small token of appreciation, the airline offered 10,000 frequent flyer miles to the passengers who helped hold up the ceiling. Still, Tom filed for a refund, mentioning the cost of missing a full day of work, though he hadn't received a response at the time he shared his story. Reflecting on the bizarre series of events, Tom said most passengers were simply stunned. People were shocked that it happened at all, and even more surprised that we had to physically hold the ceiling for so long. In an official statement, Delta apologized for the disruption, thanking passengers for their patience. They confirmed that the aircraft, a Boeing 717, returned to Atlanta due to a cabin maintenance issue, and that no injuries were reported. Passengers were later transferred to another plane, leaving them with about a 2-hour delay. Still, for those on-board Flight 2417, it's a story they won't forget anytime soon, and one they'll likely be telling for years to come.
For full video, click related link below or like and subscribe this channel.